Hello there, great person, and welcome back to Let's Dive into Warhammer 40K. We still have the Dark Elder. Hopefully we will finish them today. Perhaps we will, perhaps we won't, but yeah, we are still at the video from Luetin, which is called the Drukhari 40K. So like the original video if you enjoy the content I'm reacting to, and also if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We're almost at 1,600 people now. And without further ado, let's just get going and let's see what terrors they have for us today. Like last time they made people into furniture. Great stuff, mates. You are artists, like what, but let's go.
Thus drawing the entities of the Immaterium toward the Dark City, like apex predators catching the scent of blood in the water. These incursions are referred to by the Drukhari as disjunctions, and it should be not underestimated how catastrophic such events are for the inhabitants of Camorra. Hellish warp creatures burst through the gaping cracks of the webway to feast upon the souls of any Dark Elder they come across. Spires or slums, it makes no difference to the demonic entities. And
okay, I mean, yeah, fair. Like if some hell creatures, like, they're pretty bad and they're like people of Slaanesh, so we should defeat them now to depower Slaanesh. Like that's probably because they want to like these are Nurglers, so I think these might be, I don't know, this dude here with a knife might be from Khorne. I don't know, but they seem to be pretty unfriendly here, yeah.
And soon all of Camorra becomes a brutal war for survival. No disjunction, though, has eclipsed the devastating consequences which occurred during the breaching of Cain's Gate. Returning to the webway and the city, though, the critical thing to understand is that although the webway is described as a bridge and a series of pathways, it can also open out into these large dimensional spaces that can allow for entire cities like Camorra to exist, and perhaps even bigger. For ordinary mortals to look upon the worlds within the webway, it can be a mind-bending experience, as ordinary laws do not seem to apply here. In fact, it can even seem as if the eye is playing optical tricks and become very difficult to look at for your average pleb mortal.
Yeah, okay, so it's a bit Lovecraftian, or is it just weird shimmer thing architecture? Like, I mean, the artwork looks pretty cool, so though it's a bit yeah, it's like a bit in fog. Perhaps that's what he means, or perhaps we don't even know.
And still, the webway is not what it once was, and now even though they shelter from the storm of the warp, the Drukhari are far from safe here, and this only feeds their anxiety and heightened sense of their own precarious situations. Camorra is the Dark City, which seethes with a constant flow of corruption, as it draws evil to itself only to breathe it back out into the void.
Okay,
today,
great.
it is an endless nest of architectural contradictions and spatial anomalies. Each of its estates has been overdeveloped to such an extent that their growth has been forced into the vertical plane, and the rival regions sprouting upwards like a tangle of needle plants fighting for a scrap of sunlight.
Okay, I love his metaphors here. So they build upwards, like why? Like, why would upwards be more space? Or does he mean that they didn't have enough space and they just like pile on their layers of living spaces just because why not? Like that's the way you go when you have like, if they cover one space and then they like have to find another space and they just build up. I mean, yeah, that's probably it.
Each of these spires and towers is linked to its fellows by hundreds of curved arches and strands and crested with complex silver structures that glow with stolen energies. Its towering palaces reach both upward and downward, spiraling into the depths of captive space. With each passing year, the parasitic city seeks to devour ever more of the hidden dimension that acts as its host. Some areas of the city are more well known than others, some mapped and some are not. Others are death to enter unbidden.
Why? Like, because the people that live there, or because the city is a bizarre world nightmare domain? Like, probably both.
Personal realms of powerful archons or cadaverous homunculi who do not take kindly to unsolicited intrusions, yet most dangers are those regions that have fallen into disuse due to either structural or dimensional collapse. And these may take the form of monster-haunted wastelands of vitreous wreckage and ossified remains or lakes of seething poisons and screaming shadows. The latter will often have suffered dimensional breaches due to the partial or total collapse of the webway around them, and may be bombarded by the light of dying stars, or exist within fields of entropic radiation that wither living creatures to dust in seconds.
Yeah, okay, so lights of dying stars, could be supernova. Like if they're being hit by supernova, that's pretty pretty bad. Though I really like that they're like they're both growing and rotting away, these, or at least this city is like it's both rotting and growing. I love that. Like that fits also the idea of this this spire-like world where there are so many spires, and there's reminds me of something, some image I have in my head, but I don't remember which one it was. So
But the more desolate areas around and below the great city are known as Low Camorra. These ruins of shattered spires and hidden cabals dot through this darkened wasteland. Here exist the Drakari who have fallen out of favour or fallen on hard times. They're forced to feed on pain like starving refugees and will fight each other for the privilege. Out here exists a place known as the Central Core Spur, a dangerous place with sharp falls, twisting ravines, where at its base lies a river of acid. Yes.
I love how he did that. And there is a river of acid, and we will not kill him with acid.
That's right, a river of acid, because once you have your river of acid, you can fight battles to the death over it, and the loser is sent hurtling to a horrible, dissolving death to become part of the frothy, caustic sludge that then washes upon its shores.
Brilliant.
There are also mercenary districts and various shanty towns out here on the periphery of what passes for Drakari civilization. Assassins and hunters will compete for the best murder contracts distributed by the Dark Eldar cabals. The inner rings are known as the core of Camorra, and here you'll find ancient noble houses. They contain old citadels attended by true-born warriors, some of whom are said to descend from the original Eldar of the Fall. Below this region lies the underworld, aptly named as here exists a labyrinth of darkened horrors where the homunculus covens exist. Their disturbing laboratories sprawl below the core of the city where they ply their bizarre craft.
Yeah, great, mad scientists. Edward. Yeah, it's like I hope we get more on that later. Like I hope he doesn't dive too much into it here, because I think that would be cool to like experience in a different story where it's focused on. And yeah, but let's see what he will say.
Throughout its harrowing maze of dark chambers that one might not care to peer in upon for the sounds which emanate within, you would not wish to become disorientated within its vast corridors and hidden passages. Its twisting stairwells are lit by lamps sewn into the eye sockets of incautious visitors. And
What? I'm sorry, what did he just say? I'm nothing scars me anymore, like after the weird furniture stuff, so
the bodies of countless alien species are flensed so as to line the walls and exist as still living relief sculptures.
yeah,
The
great.
homunculus covens, despite appearing as appalling dens of depravity, are in fact invaluable to the denizens of Camorra. They deal in body modification, drug production, and by a wide margin, most importantly, they're experts in the resurrection of dead flesh. And the reason for this will clarify shortly. Lastly, we come to the aptly and definitely not over-dramatically named Chasm of Woe. It's a newer region of the city, and it's also one of the most dangerous and horrific. The reason for this is that the chasm is swarming with demons. Now, this might sound strange and pretty contradictory, but it's a very recent development and a direct result of what is known as the Great Disjunction. And to understand this, we have to talk about Cain's Gate, which is a region of Camorra.
Cain's Gate, is it the Cain from the Bible? Or is it Cain from Command and Conquer? Is that where he popped up when he left in the spire thing tower? Like, didn't he disappear in the tower in Command and Conquer 4? Don't remember, but yeah, so Cain's Gate. What hellgate is that?
It's located in the depths of its undercore and was known only to a select few. It is a direct gateway to the warp. Remembering what I
Okay.
noted about how the webway bridges between material
It's
and
bad.
immaterial space, and that it can therefore be open
Things can
to
come
either,
out.
depending on, of course, where you are. However, the consequences of this opening into Komorrah should be obviously not something that any would desire, least of all Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Now, in the period of 497 M41, something began to test the weak points in and around Komorrah.
That looks like a hut, but also like a hand. I will guess that it's both. Lovely.
Methodically attempting to locate points of entry, it was noted that a steady pounding began to be heard on the other side of the gates of Cain. And from there on, a figure who was known as Overlord Vect, a very powerful Cabal leader, indeed the most powerful Dark Eldar in existence, orders some 500 Drakari Incubi warriors to be permanently stationed at the gate. Not wanting to take
Okay.
any chances, Vect also establishes failsafe systems around the gate, such as temporal flux mines, nulls, and a dimensional mirror that will throw anything reflected in its surface directly into the heart of a sun. This
Okay, so they are pretty cautious. I like the technologies like temple whatever bombs. It's probably like making stuff decay, like rotting away, and yeah, reflecting things back into suns. Why not? Though that's I like the idea. That's pretty horrific. Like imagine there is this wall and the wall has like weird markings, and some of the markings look like a gate, and then suddenly one day you hear something hitting from behind the wall, and then you perhaps can even go around the wall and there's nothing and you still hear it. Oh, that would be so creepy.
increased force does nothing, though, to slow the increasing activity. Whispering and micro vibrations begin to be noted at the regularly inspected gate.
Okay, micro vibration might mean that things are manifesting there, I think, but yeah.
Now, Overlord Vect claims to have witnessed the fall of the Eldar personally. If this is true, he is quite possibly one of the oldest living mortal beings in the galaxy at well over 10,000 years of age.
Yeah.
As a consequence of this, surviving for that length of time as the ruler of Komorrah would also make him one of the deadliest individuals as well in the galaxy.
Probably.
In his youth, he rose to power by unwittingly, or perhaps wittingly, causing the deaths of all the other rulers of Komorrah when he captured a Salamander's Astartes cruiser, and thus ensued an imperial invasion of Komorrah. When all was said and done, the Astartes had killed the lords of Komorrah, and Vect emerged as the next most powerful figure, a ruler if you want to call it that.
Oh, so Astartes were there in Gomorrah, or whatever. I think it's called Gomorrah, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Because perhaps that's just coincidence, and that and Cain are not biblical references, but I don't know. It's better. So the Space Marines were there actually and like invaded. That's cool.
But at Cain's Gate, things were only becoming progressively worse. Those assigned with guarding the gate were slowly being driven insane by the unending, ever more pervasive whisperings. Some of the Guardian Incubi began carving "Let us in" across the walls. Others carve this message directly, crudely into their flesh. Many others do this all over their bodies, leading to horrifying bone-deep lacerations with flesh and fat literally hanging from their bones like loose cloth.
Yeah, good. Let us in. Let us in. It's pretty scary. I like that. It's still a scary idea. I like that idea so much. That's good. I wonder if that is still happening, or if we will get to know what happened there. But the setup is great, and naturally they went mad. I mean, what else would they do in that situation?
Others simply lose all sense of self and just hack off their own appendages or those of others. And despite all this highly apparent horror, Vect continues to suppress widespread knowledge of these goings-on. But
you know what? I want a horror movie about that. It's gonna be called The Wall of Cain, or The Gate of Cain, or something, and that would be so good. Like, that would make for such a brilliant horror movie.
But he does decide it's a prudent move to distance his cabal away from the area, placing them into well-guarded subrealms. Then, after something like half a century of ever-increasing activity, a warp storm causes Cain's Gate to glow white-hot for several moments. One of its mighty chains snaps with the sound of a thunderclap, and at this exact moment, every single webway portal within the Dark City flickers out and then returns to life. Even so, this singular moment plunges hundreds of thousands into limbo or just tears them apart in transit. The Dark City is soon in an uproar and demands that Vect implement immediate action to prevent a full-blown disjunction. In a typically Drakari counterproductive effort where there is so much suspicion and paranoia of each other's bizarre plots, Lady Malice, leader of another cabal, is very suspicious of Vect.
Lady Malice, seriously? Couldn't you find another name like Lady Doom or Lady Evil? What, Lady Malice? Why?
He believes his activity around the gate and the disturbances are intentional, and that he, for whatever reason, seeks to actually trigger the opening of the gate. Continual skirmishes begin occurring, and none of them seem to realise that in actuality they're struggling towards the same goal. But of course, they never see this fact and continue stabbing each other in the darkened undercore of Cremora.
Yeah, they are pretty dumb. What? Like considering they can't really see the greater whole. You know what I mean? It's like same way as with Slanesh. And I'm glad that I got that right. That they're like proxy slaves to Slanesh, like not directly because they don't like actively worship her like with prayers or whatever, but with their actions they do so, and they don't see that really. And so, I think some people all said they do see it, but can't do anything against it or whatever. But yeah, that's like they are too adamant on ending each other. So anyway, that's like, what do we expect here?
A hairline crack appears across Kane's Gate, and the caged gnolls begin to scream.
What the frick is that? Like, is that furniture man? Looks a bit like Freddy when he came through the wall in the good movie, not the bad one.
Later, when Ivrain of the Inari is possessed by Ineid, the power of this event sends a psychic shockwave known as a hyperspatial quake, or to those in Cremora, it's a disjunction.
What is she wearing? What is that? What weapon is she even using? That is sword whip? This sword, I think, and what do you call it? Like these things that you use for air. Fan, sorry. Yeah, she's using a fan as well. I mean, that looks pretty badass. She looks a bit like an Amazon Mayan priester warrior. I don't know.
It causes mass destruction in the city as spires fall and millions die. But worse is to come as finally Kane's Gate collapses under the force of this disjunction. Psychic gnolls surrounding it are killed by the force, and then quite literally, all hell breaks loose.
Oh, great.
Demons pour through the gate into Cremora, tearing to pieces any Drakari that they encounter.
That is actually a pretty cool visual. Like, they are really demons coming in. And, yep, we've got weird trees as well. Like, do they take those trees and bring them with them because they're, like, head to the flare?
Vect had by now abandoned the most dangerous areas, retreating with his cabal to these safely prepared darkened corners of the webway. Cremora would weather this, should his rival cabals do or die, was not his concern.
Why do they all have these pincer hands? Like, why do they have crab hands? Why are they crabs? That's like, why?
It is only when the warriors and slave armies of Cremora are stretched beyond breaking point in their efforts to save the city from demonic destruction does Vect then finally play his hand. He calls upon the Incubi warriors, utilising pacts and old debts to fight the demons. At high expense, the demons are steadily corralled into an area confined which now contains the distorted gaping hole that was formerly Kane's Gate. This area is then subsequently severed from the rest of Cremora, plunged into a nether abyss which comes to be known as the formerly discussed Chasm of Woe.
Okay.
But despite this, all they have done is to create a concentrated, chaotic, demon-infested abscess at the lower centre of Cremora. More of the Dark City's subdimensions are plunged into the chasm as armies of warriors and their slaves with them in an attempt to keep the chaos entities from reaching the heart of Cremora once more. To make matters worse, this is where the Great Rift will then tear the galaxy open. Another wave ripples through real space and the webway, shattering countless portals and gates that lead to and from Komorra. Whole sections of the labyrinth dimension become dislocated, and through the fractures in the interstitial plane, more demons come pouring inward.
Like the demon problem is like pretty big. Like it's like that's so bad. Like I didn't even know. Like I knew the demons like sometimes came, but right now I've got the impression that their demon problem is so horrific because they are like this never-ending wave that just f's everything up.
Meanwhile, the Imperium of Man is bisected by the Warp Maw, and one half of the Imperium is plunged into shadow. The ability to travel and communicate between systems is all but lost, and each world stands isolated in the darkness as the servants of the Chaos Gods begin their campaign of slaughter. The Watchers in Komorra see these worlds are now ripe for the plucking. But as appealing as such fresh fruits are, they must contend with the all-too-current cataclysms taking place in both the Webway and Komorra.
Yeah.
With every incubi in Komorra attempting to stem the tide of demons, long-standing bitter rivalries between the Dark City's elites erupt into bloodshed. Assassination.
Yeah, of course, they use that. Why wouldn't they use that for their own political gains? I mean, it's stupid beyond belief, but I kinda, yeah, why not? Like, they like to backstab each other.
Nations become brazen and commonplace, and the pall of civil war hangs over all. Yet right when the denizens of Komorra seem set to tear themselves and their cities to shreds, to the astonishment of all, Overlord Vect is murdered, cut down by mandrakes of an unknown master.
Okay. Did not expect that. I thought he was still like a big player or whatever. So Evan the chat for him, I guess.
Simultaneously, at this time, his essence is destroyed, and this ensures that he cannot be regrown by the homunculi, which we'll discuss shortly. The threat of an internal conflict is soon replaced by an uneasy stillness, as every Komorrite must assess their alliances. If Vect can be killed, then who amongst the Drakari can be assured of their own survival? The Harlequin Eldar of the Veiled Path prepare a wake for Vect to be held in the Nexus. This is an arena of the witch cult of the Cursed Blade. Many begin to suspect that it was the Cursed Blade who orchestrated the Overlord's demise. Others suspect it was the Lady Malice, for she and her cabal of the Poisoned Tongue have withdrawn from Komorra in the fractured spires of the Webway.
Yeah, like, it's they're all just backstabbing each other. I mean, I will probably not remember all these names, I guess. Like Lady Malice, I might remember that, but yeah.
Nonetheless, the Great Wake is attended in numbers by both those loyal to Vect and by those who come to gloat before beginning a war to divide his territories. But at the crescendo of the proceedings, the arena is saturated with potent airborne hallucinogens, and the Harlequin unleash their full fury on the Archons in attendance. Archons are the leaders of Drakari cabals. Joining the fray on the side of the Veiled Path Harlequins are the Witches of the Cursed Blade, as well as the Prophets of Flesh and warriors from Vect's own cabal.
Okay, so dudes came in and murdered them. I get it.
The blood of Archons flows in great rivers, and amidst the screams of agony and terror, Vect rises from the centre of the arena, his body perfect in form and his eyes filled with wrath. When the slaughter has finished, those Archons who remain faithful to Vect are resurrected by the Prophets of Flesh, as are some of his enemies, though they are remade as twisted monstrosities.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he probably just wanted to see, oh yeah, like who's bad, who's evil, who wants to backstab me? Ah, psyched. I did backstab myself, so no one saw that coming, and now I see who's loyal, and you're gonna be a weird thing now, because you weren't loyal. Happy fun times.
Whose only purpose is to serve the Supreme Overlord by their suffering. Having culled the upper echelons of Komorra, Vect's position is rendered now nigh unassailable, and he declares himself a living dark muse. The nearest comparison to which might be something like a living saint of the Imperium, or perhaps if they were truly powerful, even something like a lesser god of the Eldar. Worth remembering though that Vect designated himself this position, so it's fairly spurious.
Yeah, but they're all like, oh no, they weren't connected to the warp anymore, I think, so I got some Emperor vibes, but like a dark mirror of the Emperor, perhaps.
The Chasm of Woe itself, though, was unable to be fully sealed. It now remains as an ever-present threat to the city of Komorra. The Drukhari tried to slow this doomsday encroachment by creating a series of sub-dimensions between Kain's Gate and Komorra itself. They transport dilapidated parts of the city into the path of the unending demon onslaught.
Right.
In this way, the demonic incursion is kept from ever reaching the heart of the city.
It looks so cool, like this medieval town in hell, basically.
But in order to maintain this precarious safety, each day more of these sub-realities must be added to the chasm to inhibit the surging forces of chaos from then overflowing. Should they ever break through into the city itself, they will surely devour Komorra from within. As for the changing balances within the strange relationships of the Eldari, many Harlequin and Drukhari unite behind Yvraine and the Inari in their quest to destroy Slaanesh. Yet a great many do not share this vision. Residing in the high spires of Komorra, Supreme Overlord Vect continues to develop his plans to bring an end to Yvraine and the Inari, their grand quest posing a direct threat to everything that the Drukhari have sought to avoid for so long.
Could you even kill Slaanesh? I don't think you could. How would you do that? You would have to kill the idea of last forever. You can't. And of expedience.
The Drukhari contain a myriad of forces, to list but a few: the Incubi, Ravagers, Scourges, Mandrakes, Succubi, Witches, Hellions, Grotesques, and Kronos. But all of these we can look into later at leisure. For today, we will focus on three core areas of Drukhari culture: the Cabals, witch cults, and of course, the homunculi covens.
Yes, please. Actually, I think we will call it quits for today here, because I think that's a great way to stop. So next time we have these three things left, and then we're left with the Dark Elder, then we're finished with the Dark Elder, and then after that we will of course go to the Orcs, and after the Orcs, Tyranids, and after that the Tau, and after that the Horus Heresy, and after that the Mechanica, and I will do the Bricky video. Yes, I will do it. So many people have told me I should do it. I will do the Bricky video. Yeah. Also, next week, Wheel of Time will start again, the reading. So if you're interested in that. And yeah, it's like what we got today is the explanation of this looming terror that's always there, that's always trying to, or about to, kick them in the butt. And it's interesting that they have so much stuff that's threateningly above their heads, like a Damocles sword or whatever you say in English. It's like this feeling of dread and threat always there through this corrupted place of their city now. And I would love to see a movie on that, as I said. Like, how did it happen? You could even end it with a big battle, you know? It's like, this lends itself to a movie. Like, I think it would be cool to have the movies in this universe be like from different races and factions and stuff, and pretty different movies. That would be so cool. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen in the movies, and when they will come out, when they will start doing them, and I just can't wait to get more info on this. And I start to feel that I've got a, well, like at least some grasp on what is going on in this universe and of the main players, you know, because some things have been mentioned already. And I think if I have dealt with the, or tackled the things I have not yet really seen, after that we can do more like specific stuff, and can't wait for that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. You did, consider liking, and I hope you have a great day ahead of you, and see you soon. Bye.